Where we last left off, Izuku was in a high secured vicinity known as the Public Safety Commission, where he was experimented on to understand his powers and to make him into a soldier. As Izuku's friends was in search of him alongside of the original Dino Squad, in the end, Izuku was found and captured by the Victor Velociraptor. We pick up where we left off. Bakugo was the first to speak. I I don't believe this. Sue says, but how? What happened? Miss Moynihan says, I'm sorry to say this, children, but I believe we might have a traitor among us. Everyone looks to one another, wondering who it is. Uraraka says, yeah, now that you mention it, there was that time during the USJ attack. It's not like those villains knew where we were on their own. Someone spoke up and told them. And they told them where Izuku was. Miss Moynihan translate what Uraraka just said to the Dino Squad, and Miss Moynihan asks if anyone here said anything about what they were doing. And everyone would say no. Max steps forward and says, Miss Moynihan, someone here told a lie. With my Dino hearing, someone's heart skipped a beat when asked that question. Bakugo stands up with explosions in hands, and he said, Is that so? Well, it looks like I'm gonna have to beat the truth out of everyone in this room. Now, who talked? Miss Moynihan placed a hand on Bakugo's shoulder. Now, Bakugo, there is no need to be so aggressive. We need answers, and the only person who can answer them is in this room. Now, I'm going to ask everyone the same question, but I want you all to answer one at a time. I'll start with you, Bakugo. Did you say anything to anyone? No, I didn't. This would go on until they reached Yuga Aoyama, who was acting a bit suspicious when it was his turn. But Miss Moynihan simply calmed him down, saying, It's okay. If you simply tell the truth and you didn't do it, then you have nothing to worry about. Just answer honestly. Okay? Yes, ma'am. Now, did you tell anyone about Izuku's whereabouts? A drop of sweat runs down the side of the blonde-headed boy's face, and he swallows his saliva and he says, Yes. Everyone gasps in disbelief. Max confirms that he is telling the truth. Bakugo, being the most angered, charges at Yuga, but he is stopped by his classmates. Bakugo yells at him as he's being held back. You got my friend kidnapped, you bastard! I'll kill you! Everyone tells Bakugo to calm down, and after a few minutes he does. Miss Moynihan would ask Yuga who he told, but he wouldn't tell them. Bakugo threatens him again, but Miss Moynihan tells him to calm down and that she has this. Now, Yuga, I understand that you're frightened that you have been caught. But this moment, the world may be in danger if Victor has Izuku, and you're the only one who can help find him. Yuga gives in and he spills the beans, and he tells them about All for One and the deal that him and Victor made to find and capture Izuku. We then transition to Izuku waking up in his bedroom with a jolt, shouting Kane's name. Sitting up from his bed, he breathes rapidly. What happened? Was that all a dream? Suddenly, a knock at his door is heard and Victor Velocci on the other side. You, shouted Izuku. He tries to transform but realized that he couldn't. Relax, Izuku. None of this is real. What is this? What are you talking about? We are in your mind state. Right now, in the real world, we are currently experimenting on you to find that little remnant that makes you a perfect dinosaur. The original Dino Squad told me about your plans, and I have to ask, what's the point of turning humans into dinosaurs? Wouldn't it be useless? It's a dog-eat-dog world out there with a world full of carnivores. Wouldn't you, bringing the dinosaurs back, just make them eat each other and bring about the extinction once more? Izuku, There is more to my plans than just bringing back the dinosaur race. You see, in my new primordial ooze, I have added a mind control agent that will control all dinosaurs in the world. Victor smiled maliciously. You want to deprive people of their free will? What's even the point of that? Izuku, I have lived for millions of years, and with it, I have watched the human race thrive, and as they nearly bring each other to extinction, a thought came to mind. Monarchy. I am the reason that kings existed all those years ago, but no one wanted me to rule over them, and since then, I've declared myself to bring the dinosaurs back and become the dinosaur king. You're insane, he chuckles. That is an understatement. So, you have me. What are you going to do with me? Well, it's hard to tell. There's plenty of work to be done. And when you're done, what happens to me? It's not clear what will happen to you once we finish. But I do have a special experiment for you. You see, I have the DNA of one of the most powerful dinosaurs there ever was to walk the earth. But sadly, he went extinct about 1,000,000 years ago. Godzilla. For a long time, I have been in research of a solution to bring him back, but to no avail. I only have enough to experiment one more time before I run out of his DNA forever. And I am willing to give you a chance, but I don't think you'll survive. No, you can't! I'm sorry, Izuku, but my mind is made up. This is the end of our conversation, and thank you for your generous help. Goodbye. Velocity then disappears, and Izuku is now alone. We then transition back into the real world. Velocity walked around a giant container filled with water. Inside was Dino Deku, with all sorts of machines attached to his body, making sure he's receiving oxygen. He was sleeping and unable to fight his way out. Velocity smiles and says, "Soon my plan shall finally begin, and the world will be mine." We then transition to Class 1A, all of them gathered around Yuga, listening to his involvement on Izuku's disappearance. I see. Well, we need to save him before it's too late. For all we know, Velocity is hurting that poor boy to get what he wants. And so they think of a solution to get in contact with Izuku to save him, and they come up with one. That being that they will use their dino telepathy. They would use that to try and get in contact with Izuku, so that they can find him, and so the Dino Squad would split up and go to different regions of Japan and use their dino telepathy abilities to try and reach out to Izuku, but after a few days of trying, nothing. Class 1A would tell Inko that her son is still alive and they are doing everything in their power to bring him home. Inko begs and pleads with them to bring her son back, and they vow that they would. A few days pass, and then the Dino Squad has checked back at home to make sure that Victor Velocity was there or not, but nothing. And just when they are about to give up and think that Izuku is possibly anywhere in the world, Fiona went to Dagobah Beach and used her telepathy one more time. Izuku, can you hear me? She hears nothing but the ocean waters drifting over each other. And just as she's walking away, she hears, "Who's there?" Izuku? Is that you? Yeah, that's my name. Who are you, and how do you know my name? Oh my goodness! My name is Fiona, and I'm part of the Dino Squad, and I'm trying to find you. Quick, can you tell me where you are? I can't. I'm trapped in my own mind, and Victor Velocity has my DNA, and he's almost perfected my genes on what makes me so perfect. You have to hurry before it's too late. Okay, just hang in there. I'm going to go get the rest of the squad and Class 1A. If you can hear me, then that means you're nearby. Just hang in there. We will find you. After some time, Class 1A and the original Dino Squad meet up at the beach and they use their communication abilities to talk with Izuku, and hearing that he is alright puts Class 1A at ease. After some time of communicating, they would use their telepathy to triangulate his location, and they strongly believe that he is underwater, meaning in the ocean. After bringing this to the Class 1A, Sue volunteers to dive into the water and look around for any suspicious activities. After all, she's a frog, and she can hold her breath the longest. And she's a really good swimmer. Class 1A would tell her to be careful, and they would get her on a boat and take her to the deeper waters. She then takes a deep breath and jumps in, and after a while, all she came across was aquatic life and plants. She doesn't see anything out of the ordinary until she bumps into something. Ouch! What was that? She then extended her hand out and touched something, but it appears as if it was invisible. Suddenly, she sees a flashing red light, and she sets off an alarm. And suddenly, what appears to be a giant dino creature is swimming after her. Sue then swims as fast as she can. There were a few times where the creature almost caught her in its teeth. And then she swims straight up, jumping out of the water, with the creature jumping after her. The creature had Sue in the path of her mouth, but just as it was about to bring it upon her, a pteranodon swoops in and gets her out of danger, and the creature crashes into the sandy grounds with great force. Sue was safe, and soon she is accompanied by her classmates. They see this creature and realizes that it is robotic. The squad examines it and realizes that it is for security purposes. It was guarding a territory, which means that they're getting closer. Roger steps forward and says, I could probably modify it to be a submarine so that it could take us back to where it came from. That way, it'll take us to the underground vicinity and hopefully to Izuku. Back at Izuku, he was visited by Victor Velocci. Great news, Izuku. I have successfully copied your DNA and have found what makes you so special. It's all associated with the primordial ooze that is in your circulatory system. You see, your body isn't contaminated with that special thing that gives people quote-unquote quirks. Your blood is pure. Out of the 20% of people in the world, they are special. They are pure-blooded, just like you. But unfortunately, I'm going to need all of your blood. What? No, you can't do this to me! I'm sorry, Izuku, but we have all the data we need from you. Our time together was greatly appreciated, but the final phase of my plan have now been set in motion, and I just don't need you anymore. So, this is goodbye. And take this into consideration. I'm giving you the DNA of Godzilla. That'll give you enough time before your body completely gives out. He leaves, and Izuku informs the team that Victor got what he wanted, and he is going to take his blood and inject him with Godzilla's DNA. Miss Moynihan rushes Roger's progress, and he tells him that he's going as fast as he can. Time passes. Down below, Victor takes Izuku's blood and injects him with the remaining samples of Godzilla. His body shook aggressively as his veins glowed a bright blue. He screams in agony, and mentally the Dino Squad can hear this, and with panic in his tone, with panic filling his body, Roger quickly rushes the process, and he was done. Quick, everyone, get inside! They do this, and the robot springs to life and crawls into the water and swims back to the underwater vicinity. They were amazed at what they were seeing. It was like people would imagine the lost city of Atlantis would look like. Soon, the robot reaches its recharge station, Class 1A, along with the original Dino Squad, exits the robot submarine, and they take in the scene and notices a bunch of terminals, other robotic subs, and the same suits that Victor's men wear. Everyone stay close. Security can't be far ahead, says Miss Moynihan. And also, disguise yourself as a henchman. They walk the halls, and we transition back to Izuku, who is levitating in a containment unit. The veins in his body start to glow a bright blue. Izuku felt weak. His body felt hot and cold at the same time. Inside his head, he sat on the ground with a hurricane of smoke and blue light circling him. My head, my body. I'm afraid I'm not gonna make it. I need help. Suddenly, in the midst of the smoke and light, a giant face of a lizard can be seen. Its eyes were the same color as the light that shrouded them both. What are you? I am Godzilla, and you have been chosen to inherit my power. I don't want your power. I want to live. Your body is frail and weak, but with your alternate form, you just may stand a chance to withstand it. But this alternate, this alternate version of yourself must be exterminated. The Godzilla projection then exterminated the other personality of Izuku that tends to go on rampage. That's one less problem on Izuku's plate. No, you don't understand. I don't want it. You don't have a choice, boy. Suddenly, the Godzilla figure then turned into dust and started circling Izuku, making the hurricane more aggressive. He was in so much pain he thought that he was going to die, but then he hugged his knees up to his chest and started thinking calming thoughts. Back at the squad in Class 1A, they were trying to get their way to Izuku as soon as possible. But they ran into some obstacles, such as real henchmen who wanted them to identify themselves. Miss Moynihan steps forward, explaining that Victor Velocity tasked them to retrieve the perfect dinosaur's body, but they knew that she was lying, and they pointed their weapons at them, ready to fire. But then Bakugo says, "You know what? I'm done with this." He then jumps into the air and blows them back, knocking them out. Let's hurry this up. They run and encounter obstacle after obstacle. While that was going on, Izuku was fighting for his life. Each minute that passed, he would get weaker and weaker, as if his life was being sucked out of him. Mom, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm not gonna make it. Suddenly, he felt a hand on his shoulder, comforting him. Looking up, he sees a silhouette of his classmates surrounding him. He stands up, and a silhouette of Bakugo steps forward and says, "Don't you give up on me, Deku. I still want a rematch." Uraraka comes forth. "Come on, Deku-kun. We're gonna save the world someday." Todoroki, "Come on, Midoriya. You taught me to accept myself and my fire. Now I'm going to return the favor by saving you." One by one, they spoke words of encouragement to Izuku to keep him alive, and the last person that spoke was Tsuyu, who hugged Izuku and pleaded with him to hang in there just a little bit longer. Izuku struggles to hug her back and says, "Okay, I'll try." Back at the group, they were so close, they came across a door that was heavy duty. Buzz says, "Great, how are we going to get past this? It's got to be like 10 feet thick of steel or something." Todoroki tells everyone to stand back and freezes the door, weakening its structures, and Bakugo uses howitzer impact to break the door into pieces. From the other side, they finally found Izuku, but he wasn't in such good shape. They found him floating in a containment unit filled with water and an air mask over his mouth. He looked malnourished. His bones were projecting through his skin. He lost a lot of his hair, and his breathing was very weak and slow. The one thing that stood out most about Izuku was his veins that glowed a bright blue. Next to him were 6 other pods that connected to some wiring that was connected to his veins. Everyone was bewildered of what they were seeing, too bewildered to say anything. They just stared at him while they were getting closer. Bakugo says, "What did they do to him?" Miss Moynihan looks at the reports and realizes that he had taken Izuku's new blood that has evolved to the primordial ooze. She tells everyone the bad news, and the Dino Squad asks if there's anything that they could do to save him. To which Miss Moynihan had a solution, and she explains that she's going to give her primordial blood to Izuku, but she also explains that she will die. The Dino Squad panics. "There's gotta be another way, Miss Moynihan." But she says there is no time. If she doesn't do this, then Izuku will die. She goes on to explain that she is proud of the Dino Squad that she has helped build, and that it will be up to them to take on Victor. She turns into her Velociraptor form. Class 1A was astonished of what they saw her. Class 1A was astonished of her transformation before their eyes. And she got into one of the pods and she poked herself with one of the needles that extracted her blood and transferred it into Izuku. After a couple of minutes, she died from blood loss. But on the bright side, Izuku's body was beginning to heal, but it wasn't enough. He needed more primordial blood if he was going to survive. The Dino Squad thinked quickly, and they decided to give their primordial blood to Izuku as well. But with all 5 of them together, Miss Moynihan gave up her entire blood to save Izuku, so they have a higher chance of survival if they gave half of their blood to him, enough so that they will survive. Soon, they turn into their dino forms, and they get into their pods, and they give their blood to Izuku, to which his body healed completely. Inside of Izuku's mind, he felt something strange. He felt stronger, and at the same time fear, but with also a sensation of adrenaline rushing throughout his body. And suddenly, the cognitive version of Suyu Asui hugged Izuku. Izuku can remember the feeling when Su first hugged him. Such a feeling calmed him down. As he embraced her back, he remembers Su's hug. He remembers Su's hug being warm and comforting, and even remembering the first time she took his hand. She was kind and gentle, and remembering the true feelings that he had towards her. Looking into the eyes of Su, a desire of love took him, and he slowly leans forward towards Su. Back in the real world, Izuku was being released from his pod. Gravity took him, but he was caught by the real Su. "Midoriya," she called him. Lifting his head up, he looks into the eyes of the real Su while leaning forward and whispering, "I love you." And unexpectedly, he kisses her on the lips. She was shocked, Uraraka was shocked, everyone was shocked, their mouths were droop open and some people screaming, and then Su slaps him across the face, leaving a red handprint on his cheek. Izuku shakes his head and he is being helped stood up. What happened? Oh, I got a massive headache. That was from Su. Wait a minute. Roger, Max, what are you doing here? They explain that they're here to rescue him, and Izuku can remember back to when Victor Velocity told him about his plans, and asked if Miss Moynihan was here, but they informed him that she is gone. Izuku gives the Dino Squad his condolences. Okay, so it looks like we're on our own. Nearby, Izuku sees a large glass vial with the almost, quote unquote, perfected ooze. Bakugo says, "Come on, Deku, we need to get you out of here." "Hang on, we need to take this vial with us." They reach the subs and go back to the surface, and Izuku is met with the light of the sun, taking in a deep breath as if it's been a long time. But then, he remembers Kane. Such a thought made him tear up, and he was comforted by his classmates. Izuku is then taken home to his mother, who hugged him, happy that her son is still alive and back in her arms. Izuku invites everyone inside, and after a few hours of sleep, Izuku gets everyone caught up on Victor's plan with the new perfected primordial ooze, telling them that he's going to experiment on Japan, creating rain clouds that will turn all life in it into dinosaurs under his control. And it will make them so strong that not even quirks can stop them. But this vial is not the way he wanted it. This ooze will turn people into dinosaurs. But not only will people be given free will, it only takes one time exposure for the effects to be permanent. That, and the people can change back and forth, like I can do. He took it because maybe there's a chance that maybe the heroes can use it and put it to good use. But, unfortunately, they were still under hospitalization because of him. He tries to offer it to the Dino Squad, but he tells them that they lost their powers once they gave their primordial blood to Izuku. Momo thinks, and she says, "Wait, does that mean that Izuku has all their transformations now?" Izuku tries, and Triceratop horns appear on his head, and pterodactyl flaps appear under his arms, and stegosaurus plates appear on his back. Whoa, I'm so sorry. Buzz says, "It's okay, Izuku. What matters is that you're okay, and our sacrifice was worth it." Okay, then I guess it's up to me to stop him and his dino army. Bakugo says, "You can't be serious, Deku. You're gonna fight an entire army by yourself? I mean, there's no other way. The only person that knows Victor the best is dead, and the original Dino Squad doesn't have their powers anymore. It has to be me." Sue speaks up, saying, Maybe you don't have to do it alone. Maybe with that ooze you have there, we can create a new Dino Squad." She stands up, and so does everyone else. "Are you sure about this, you guys? Remember, if you do this, there is no going back to your normal lives." Todoroki says, "It's because of you I'm willing to accept my fireside. I can accept being a dinosaur as well." Bakugo says, "Yeah, and I still want my match with you, and it's only right that we are on equal ground." Everyone says what they want to say. Izuku smiles with pride and says, "Well, you guys, if there's one thing I gotta say, let's dino out." Class 1A steps outside. Everyone gathers around Izuku with the vial in arms. "Okay, everyone, I'm gonna give you one last chance to step out of this. There's no shame in backing out." They all stood firm and in place. Izuku smiles with pride. "Okay, then let's do this." Raising the vial over his head, he slams it to the ground. The ooze sprays out everywhere. It slowly absorbs into Class 1A's skin, and one by one they all transform. Bakugo, a Carnotaurus. Kirishima is a Borealobota. Yaoyorozu, a Titanoboa. Mineta, a Compsognathus. Sato is a Yangchuanosaurus. Odro's dinoform, Ankylosaurus. Sue, the Devil Frog. Kaminari, a Triceratops. Mina Ashido, a Dilophosaurus. Koda, a Pentaceratops. Shoji is a Taurus. Ida is a Velociraptor. Tokoyami is a pterodon. Try again. Tokoyami is a pteranodon. Uraraka is a Spinosaurus. Jiro is a Stegosaurus. Zoro is a pterodactyl. And lastly, Todoroki is a Tarbosaurus. When it finished, the streets was filled with prehistoric dinosaurs. They all stomped around, trying to regain their balance to their new bodies. Izuku tries to calm them down, but they weren't listening. That was until Izuku heard Bakugo's voice inside of his head. Ah, damn it, this new body is heavy, Uraraka telekinetically said. Izuku, help me! Buzz steps in, saying, Izuku, if you could hear their voices, then talk through them telepathically. Izuku tries this, and successfully everyone manages to calm down and stand perfectly still. Izuku stares in amazement. His classmates were dinosaurs, but he noticed that there were only 18. Guys, where's Mineta? I'm down here. They look down and notice a tiny little dinosaur by Izuku's feet. This was Mineta indeed. After a few hours, the class managed to control their dino bodies. They were finally able to look at themselves, and after a few more hours of practicing, they were able to get a decent grip on their bodies, and even able to use their quirks in their new bodies. When they had finished, Izuku brought everyone a towel, informing them that when they transform back to normal, they will most likely be out of clothing. Izuku asks Bakugo to go first, and once Izuku tells him to change back, he is covered with his own clothes. But Izuku was surprised that his clothes were still there. What? How is it that you still have your clothes, but I never have mine? I don't know. Maybe I'm better at this new power than you, Deku. FYI, that only works for everyone else because Izuku was wearing his middle school uniform. It would have worked if he was wearing that, but he's not wearing it no more. So everyone changes back and gets ready for battle. But before everyone head inside, Izuku asked if he could speak with Sue alone. When it was supposedly just the two of them, Sue didn't even look Izuku in the eyes because she was still taken aback by this sudden kiss. What is it you wanted to talk about, Midoriya? Well, it's just, I wanted to apologize. The guys, they told me what had happened when you guys saved me. But I swear, I wouldn't have done it without your permission. It's just, while I was fighting for my life in that pod, the only thing that I could think about to calm myself down was, well, it was you. Sue finally looks Izuku in the eye. A bit of pink appears upon her cheeks, because the times that we spent together, it made a special place in my heart for you, Sue. I could still remember the first time you took me by the hand. It made me realize that I like you, Sue. Like you. She blushes even deeper, and the two finally see eye to eye. Sparkles surround them, and Izuku says, in fact, I was wondering that once all of this is over, maybe we could go on a date? I mean, only if you want to. Sue's heart skipped a beat, for Izuku actually asked her out. Sure, Midoriya, I'd like that. She extended her arms out, and Midoriya, getting the message, brings her in for a hug. The two feel the warmth in each other. In each other's touch. From around the corner, the girls were watching, smiling with pride, and actually shouting with joy as they feel like they were watching a soap opera. And the couple that they have been wanting to get together finally got together. Uraraka, however, had a face of sadness, knowing that Izuku's heart was for another woman. The best that she could do for Izuku was be there for him and Sue. That night, while everyone slept in the confines of Izuku's apartment, Izuku had trouble sleeping. He got up to get himself a drink, but he notices that Bakugo wasn't laying down as everyone else. He heard grunting in the backyard. He looks and sees Bakugo training with his new dino form. He goes outside. Hey, Kachon, what are you doing? Deku, I've been meaning to talk to you about something. What is it? How did you get your powers? Izuku explains the day in middle school when he saved that girl from drowning, he came in contact with the primordial ooze that gave him, that gave the Dino Squad their dino abilities. Bakugo takes in all of that, but he wants to know more about the other power, the one that looks like All Might's abilities. What is that exactly? Izuku smiled, and he tells Bakugo the truth. He goes on to tell him about One for All and the drawbacks if he goes over a certain percentage that he can handle. That kind of stuff. I see, Bakugo says. Then I want to fight. What? I want to see your strength. Your dino strength and your physical strength. You want to fight? Like, right here? No. We need to find more space. Because I want to fight you with everything I've got. And I want you to do the same. And so, they do. After walking for a while, they find a spot where no one was around. And there was plenty of space for them to battle. The two stand in the center of their battlefield, and they begin. Izuku is the first to attack. He moves with tremendous speed that Bakugo was barely able to dodge. For a while, it was Izuku throwing punches and Bakugo dodging. But at one point, Izuku gets a punch on Bakugo's face, and they both stop to catch their breaths. Bakugo says, "Okay, so you can handle yourself." Yeah, I mean, you and we've battled before, and you saw how I handled Todoroki during the sports festival. Actually, I'd rather not think about that right now. Yeah, let's go ahead and move on to our dino forms. Okay, but first, let's start small. Let me show you how to do that. Izuku goes into his first form of his T-Rex, with his claws, his eyes, and his teeth. Bakugo does the same thing, but he gets horns on his forehead, claws at the end of his fingertips, and spikes that trace down the back from his head down to his lower back. They charge at each other once more, and they slash at each other, dodging. They charge at each other again, slashing at each other and dodging. But this time, Bakugo was the first to strike Izuku, scratching a hole in his shirt. But Izuku returned the favor, slashing a hole in Bakugo's pants sleeves. Their battle turned into fist attacks, and the boys leave bruises on one another. And when they stop to catch their breath, Bakugo says, "Is this what you've always wanted? To get back at me when we were kids? Is this what you've always wanted, to get back at me when we were younger and you had no quirk?" Izuku smiled and said, "The only thing I ever wanted was to be stronger than you, Kachan. Because there was another role model that inspired me to be more than I ever was. And that person was you." Bakugo was moved by that. He never knew that Izuku looked up to him like that. He smiled and said, "All right, let's go Dino." "I couldn't agree more," said Izuku. The two then lunged at each other while yelling, "Dino out!" And when they reached each other, they bashed their dino skulls. They bashed their dino heads together. They both push each other for dominance, and since the Tyrannosaurus Rex is bigger than the Carnotaurus, Bakugo had to submit and try something else. He runs in a circle with tremendous speed. Before Dino Deku noticed, he was tackled from the side and piled on by Dino Bakugo. He would proceed to jump up and down on Izuku, knocking all of the air out of him. Izuku rolled out of the path and activated One for All. "So, we're using our quirk," So be it. Explosions began to emit from Bakugo's body, and the two dashed at each other. And when they headbutt, it caused an explosion. The trees were blown back, shrouding their surroundings in dirt. When it had subsided, both of the boys were on the ground, tired, covered in bruises and burns. The boys, back in their human forms, smiled and chuckled. A few days had passed, and the Class 1A has really grown to like their new dino abilities. But then, the original Dino Squad came to them and informed them that Victor has been spotted along with an army of dinosaurs in the heart of Japan. Izuku tells everyone that this may be it. If they fail, Victor will take the world and they will all be his slave. I understand that some of you might be scared, but I need you all to believe in yourselves and follow through. So, before we go, I got just one question to ask all of you. Are you ready to dino out? Everyone stands up, some jumping in the air while shouting, "Yeah!" with their fists raised to the sky. They all run out the front door, but Izuku is stopped by his mom. "Izuku, sweetie." She hugs him, her eyes flooding with tears. "Please, don't make me lose you again. My heart can't take it if you're gone." Izuku hugs his mom tightly and says, "It'll be okay, Mom. I'll save the city, and I'll make it back." He leaves, and soon they arrive downtown, and they see an army of dinosaurs attacking and destroying buildings. They were attacking people. Izuku, along with everyone else, stepped out of the vehicle, and Izuku said, "Dino Squad, Dino out!" They turn to their dinosaur forms and they run off, but not before Izuku tells the original Dino Squad to stay back and help people who need their help. They do this, and the new Dino Squad takes on the opposition. It was a tough start at first, but the squad banded together and they aided each other and was able to stand against them. There were a few close calls, but they came out on top. Izuku says, "Has anyone seen Victor?" "Nope, haven't seen him." "Me neither." Suddenly, a beam of light shot up to the sky. They look and see Victor looking down at them with a huge grin on his face. Izuku's face tenses up, and he orders everyone else to handle any remaining threat or people who need help. They split up, and Izuku turns into a pteranodon. Excuse me. Izuku turns into a pteranodon and takes to the sky. While heading up, Izuku saw an army of dinosaurs heading towards him. Izuku uses his telepathy to warn everyone of the approaching dangers, when suddenly he is struck from the side by a pterodactyl, who bit and nipped at him. Soon he is surrounded by other pterodactyls. They all try to bring him down, and soon Izuku falls to the ground, still under attack. But then Izuku activates One for All, and a shockwave ensues, and the pterodactyls are shot back, and Izuku quickly flies above them, and he turns into his T-Rex form. His body slammed on top of the pterodactyls, rendering them all unconscious. Izuku turns back into his pteranodon form, and he flies back up, but he sees that Sue is surrounded by an army of velociraptors. She was outnumbered. She couldn't fight them alone. Izuku yelled, "Someone help Sue!" But everyone was fighting their own battles. Sue was about to get attacked, but just as they were about to attack, she screamed, and Izuku swoops in, and he turns into a Spinosaurus form, tackling all of the velociraptors off of her. One by one, they attacked Izuku, piling on top of him, but Izuku turned into his T-Rex form and fought back, getting the upper hand. "Sue, are you okay?" "Yeah, I'm fine. Are you okay? You got bit a lot." "Yeah, I'm okay." "Izuku, all of these opponents, Do you really think we stand a chance? Do you think we'll make it? Hey, don't think that way, Sue. We are going to make it out of this alive. She smiled through her dinosaur form. I would like that. Yeah, I would too. We just need to stay in here just a bit longer. Sue tells Izuku to go, and Izuku takes to the skies, and he makes it to the top of the skyscraper, and there stood Victor Velocity with his back turned against him. You surprised me, Izuku. I saw you use all those dino forms, and you survived the Godzilla transfusion. But I have to ask, have you learned to tap into its power yet? Izuku does not answer. Instead, he tells Victor to turn his machine off and that it's over. I'll take that as a no. Anyway, it's only a matter of time before the world is mine. Izuku charges at him and tries to engage in combat, but Victor was able to fight back. After millions of years of living, he picked up a few fighting skills from around the world. Izuku would stop to catch his breath, wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth. Such amazing admiration. You fight to protect your feeble kind. Don't you find it cruel that you tried to stop the resurrection of the first kind that walks this earth? And you call yourself a hero. I call you a misanthrope. Izuku tightens his fist and says, 65 million years you've lived in the past. Your selfish desires drive you blind. Has it ever occurred to you that humans never took the dinosaurs' place, but instead, evolution brought them to be? I have empathy for the dinosaurs, but their time has come. 65 million years ago, you evolved. We thrived. We survived. With all the time that you have had on this planet, you could have done good for society. You could have evolved with the humans. You could have been happy. You could have found better meaning to this day. You could have been more. Victor then clenches his fists and he charges at Izuku, turning his head into a velociraptor, and tries to chomp at Izuku, but Izuku dodges. He turns his arms into Tyrannosaurus Rex arms. At one point, during the skirmish, Victor pounced on top of Izuku and tries to chomp at his face, but Izuku uses his T-Rex arms to keep him from biting down on his head, Izuku then punches back, and he quickly gets his feet under him and yells, "Dino out!" turning his whole body into a Tyrannosaurus Rex, and Victor turns to his Velociraptor form. The two would have an intense fight in their dino forms. There was blood and bad bruises, and things were looking good for Izuku, but at one point, Victor limped towards his machine, and he presses a button, and gun turrets started firing on Izuku. Most of the bullets bounced off of his form, but some did land critical hits, but he continued to fight. Izuku then activated full cowling, and he would blow the guns away, destroying them. Turning back to his human form, he would then turn his attention back to Victor Velocity. "It's over, Victor. Turn off the machine and call off your dino army right now. I have won." Victor then turns to his human form and says, "I may have been beaten, but the battle is far from over." Pushing a button, he calls upon a friend, and suddenly All For One and Shigaraki entered. Izuku's eyes widen. What the heck? What are they doing here? And who are you? Looking to All For One. "Hello there, Izuku. My name is All For One, and we're here to lend a hand to a once-was co-worker of ours, Victor Velocity." Victor's eyes widen. "Once was? What do you mean by that?" All For One then aimed his hand, and he fired a laser beam at Victor, killing him instantly. And there goes the last organic dinosaur. Izuku's eyes widen, and he blinks in disbelief. But why? Why would you do that? Hmm? Oh, he was just a puppet in my plan. My newly formed plan. To take the world myself, especially with this dinosaur solution that he has brought to my attention. He brought me an idea, so I decided to take it for myself. And since I defeated the leader of the dinosaurs, now I am the leader of the dinosaurs. All for One uses the dinosaur army to climb the building and to attack Izuku, but there was still time for Izuku to fight back. It was just a matter of moments before they were on top of him. He had to defeat All for One and Shigaraki. He charged at them, but as he's charging at them with full cowling shrouding his body, a gigantic surge of bloodlust came from Shigaraki. Izuku's eyes widen and he backs up out of fear. What? What the heck is going on? What is wrong with Shigaraki? All for One explains that Shigaraki underwent the treatment to claim his own dino form. Shigaraki then steps forward and takes his dino form, and as he does, his shadow shrouds Izuku's body, and Izuku is met with an albino Buronix. Izuku backs up out of fear as the Buronix is about to double his size, his eyes red as the sun, and his skin white as snow. Letting out a loud roar, everyone hears it, and they look up and sees the opposition that awaits them. Izuku backs up, and he hears Shigaraki telepathically say, "I will have vengeance," referring to when Izuku took his sense of hearing back at the USJ attack. Shigaraki starts stomping towards him, but Izuku swallows his fear and puts on a brave face, and the two engage in combat. With each passing second, their battle grows intense. Izuku got a few lucky bites and scratches in, but Shigaraki was laying waste to Izuku because Izuku was already hurt enough from his fight with Victor Velocity. Just when Izuku's had enough, he falls to the ground covered in blood, bites, and scratch marks, and bullet holes. All for One steps closer to Izuku and says, I'm sorry, Mr. Midoriya, but it's over. This world is officially mine." Determination filling his body, Izuku then turned to his Pteranodon form and he flies into the sky. But he flies right towards Shigaraki and turns into a Spinosaurus form, and he would spin around really fast and he would strike Shigaraki. While he was distracted, Izuku pushed him towards the edge of the building. Shigaraki quickly regaining himself and he fights back, but he misses. Try again. Shigaraki quickly regains himself and fights back but misses. Izuku then turns to his other forms, and at one point, he pushes Shigaraki off of the building roof. Izuku, while in his T-Rex form, was victorious. He turned his attention to All for One. But again, his own will, he turned back to his... Try again. Izuku, while in his T-Rex form, was victorious. He then turns his attention to All for One. But again, by his own free will, he turns back to his human form. He had exhausted himself fighting. Victor and Shigar... God damn it. Hang on. Hang on. I need a second. We're going to start again from Izuku while in his T-Rex form in 3, 2, 1. Izuku, while in his T-Rex form, was victorious, and he turned his attention to All for One. But again, by his own free will, he turned back to his human form, for he had exhausted himself from fighting Shigaraki and Victor. It's over, All for One. Tell your army to back down before it's too late. All for One chuckles and says, "It's far from over, Izuku. It's only just begun. And by the way, when you see Victor in the afterlife, be sure to give him my regards." Suddenly, Izuku felt excruciating pain in his center torso. He was unable to move his body, but he was able to look behind him. He turns. He turns around and sees Shigaraki in his human form, smiling from ear to ear. Slowly, Izuku's body started decaying. His life started flashing before his eyes, and he started recollecting the friends that he has made along the way. He came so far, and he was so close. He wasn't ready for this. Mom, I'm sorry. Kachan, Horaka, Ida, Sue, please forgive me. Shigaraki then picks up Izuku's body as he continues to turn to decay, and he dangles his body over the edge of the building as he lets out a dino roar. Class 1A looks up and sees their leader defeated. Bakugo yells, "No!" as Izuku's body started falling towards the ground. Tokoyami uses his Pteranodon's flight abilities to catch Izuku, but when he reached him, he vanished into ashes. Everyone falls to their knees, completely lost of hope. Shigaraki, next to All For One, who monologued about this generation starting something new, and that the world is now theirs. Suddenly, the wind around them started getting very aggressive, and Izuku's ashes started gathering in the wind of the vortex. Suddenly, green light shined from the sky, and lightning strikes the ground. Suddenly, a green mist started shrouding the skies. Try again. Suddenly, the green mist started shrouding the skyscraper, and when it subsided, it revealed something. It made everyone's mouth droop open. All For One and Shigaraki turn around and they see this humongous, giant lizard like thing. They thought it was Godzilla, but it's impossible. It had spiky quills on its back, and its tail longer than its body. Dino Bakugo struggled, but he said, Is Izuku? The Godzilla creature then looked down at the two villains, Shigaraki and All For One, and it growled, exposing its teeth. Taking a deep breath, the Godzilla battered its head back, with light emanating from its mouth. All For One sees about to happen, gets into a fighting stance, but before he could do anything, a beam of light shot from Godzilla's mouth and at the two villains, and slowly their bodies faded from existence, leaving absolutely nothing behind. The Godzilla figure then roared to the skies, and all the dinosaurs stopped. However, the Godzilla sees that there is a minute left on the machine that Victor left behind. Suddenly, Class 1A hears Izuku's voice. "Mineta, get up here, quickly!" Tokoyami quickly picks up tiny little Mineta and takes him to the top of the skyscraper, and he tells him to stop the machine by ripping out any wires that he could find. Using his tiny dino body, he would squeeze into the crevices of the machine, and he would start biting into random things, and just when the timer reaches 0, the machine has a small fiery explosion, and it powers off. Mineta, Mineta, are you okay? After a couple seconds of silence, nothing happened. But then, Mineta crawled out from the machine with some minor burns. "I'm okay." The day was saved, thanks to the new Dino Squad. After some time had passed, the people who were under Victor's control were relieved of their dino powers after not being exposed to his primordial ooze long enough. Yue was exposed to their connection with the public safety commissions and the horrible things that they have done to those kids, and was shut down. Yuga, alongside with Aizawa, was placed in jail because Aizawa had connections to the freaking PSC. But the students still pursued their heroism in different schools. We'll say Shiketsu High. The heroes managed to recover and continue their hero careers. All Might and Class 1A and Inko Midoriya would go and visit Izuku at a juvenile detention center because, since Izuku was the sole survivor of the PSC, they immediately pointed the finger at him until the investigation was over. Even with him being under lockdown, Izuku and Sue would pursue their romantic interest in each other and would actually consider themselves a couple. Class 1A would keep their dino powers a secret from the public, and a year later, Izuku was released from the juvenile detention center after obtaining some undeniable evidence proving his innocence. But the law still was going to keep a close eye on him from now on. And with his classmates picking him up and All Might and his mother, All Might congratulated Izuku on defeating his greatest nemesis, and for saving the world, obviously. But he had to ask, young Midoriya, that Godzilla figure that I saw on TV, that was you, wasn't it? Izuku smiles and says, I don't know, All Might. But there is one thing I know for sure. I'm going to make the team that I made street legal so that we can help people. A week later, Izuku was informed of the old Dino Squad returning home, but they decided to keep going with their Dino Squad name, because after all, you don't need to have dino powers just to save the Earth. Just reduce, reuse, and recycle, and take care of Mother Green. One day, Izuku was walking the streets in patrol, and just when Izuku was about to report back of nothing out of the ordinary, a little girl bumped into Izuku's leg. This girl had long white hair and red eyes and one horn on one side of her head, this being eerie, of course. Hey there, are you okay? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. What's wrong? Why are you crying? Please help me. Izuku then presses the emergency beacon on his walkie-talkie, informing everyone of his location. You guys, I think I might have a situation here. Come here and be sure to dino out, just in case. He tells the girl that he's going to take her to the nearest hospital and to ensure that she is okay, when suddenly, a man with brown hair emerged from this alleyway. Eerie, why are you bothering this man? Oh, hello there. Is this little girl yours? Yeah, she's my daughter. Say, aren't you that kid that took out 10 pro heroes about a year and a half ago? Yes, sir. That was me, but I have gone under numbers of counseling, and I have learned to control certain parts of me. And after picking up a few things from counseling, I've learned to read into situations and sensing child abuse. Because, you see, this girl, she is scared of your own presence, and she's covered in medical bandages. And I can no longer go in goodwill, knowing that I could have done something to help this girl. So if you would just kindly just follow me to the nearest hospital to ensure that she is okay, I will take full responsibility if you wish to lay down a lawsuit upon me. So what do you say? The man chuckles and says, You heroes, always wanting to get in other people's business. Threatening to take off his glove, Eerie panics and she tries to crawl out of Izuku's arms, only for him to tighten his grip, not wanting to let go of this girl, wanting to protect her at all costs. Now, sir, I usually don't like to butt into other people's business, but when it comes to children, I can't help but get involved. I must protect them. Suddenly, Overhaul sees a pteranodon flying overhead and a pterodactyl. And then he looks to the left and sees a Spinosaurus, and looks to his right and sees a Carnotaurus, and right up above, standing on top of the roof of the buildings, he sees dinosaurs of all likes staring at him. Izuku smiled. And then he closes a hand and points it towards All for One and says, Dino Squad! Dino out! And the screen fades to black. And that's the end of the story. I hope you all enjoyed it. I know you all, well, probably not all of you, but like, a certain someone has been waiting for this ending for about a long time. And I'm not gonna lie, I was just procrastinating. But I finally found the motivation to do it again, And hopefully to see you all in the next one. Hope you all have a good night. And consider yourselves #blessed.